Hey guys, I'm diving into something that I've been sitting with. I'm calling it NASA, but not the rockets and the spaceships. The space that we create, protect, and sometimes need to reclaim, um, both for ourselves and in our relationships. And, defining what that is, what has space meant for me lately, creatively, emotionally, mentally, is that it's really just honoring where I am in the moment. Last time we spoke, I was going through a lot of grief and a lot of changes, and about like job loss and being at a place for a whole year, you know, and doing it and trying showing up, you know, some days are perfect, some days are weren't. I'm telling you, some days were amazing, some days I cried, I cracked. I just, it just really honestly, my job showed me when I was working for this company, it was like, it showed me who I wanted to be, and who I am needed to be. It was all those things. All at once. It was just a whole bunch of things, you know what I mean? Um, but when I think about this space, I also think about like the shift from seeing space as distance or disconnect to seeing it as alignment and clarity. And I think that, having space after all of that has been amazing, um, for me. Like, from when I talked about how I created space by going to a candle shop and, really having that moment with a person that I met at like RVA Fashion Week. And it's about what I want. And I also talked about, you know, fashion, I believe, and what was the reward, and how I think honestly for me is that I think for me doing fashion from a space that's meaningful and that brings fine art. Fashion is art, but I think honestly I want to tell more stories that and style things from a story, more of a storytelling factor that is about the now. And as I learn to grow in my craft and make reading about fashion and what it's really meant for, I think I did just get a streamline of that. Another thing, um, I'm looking into, I was like, I want to become a more of a fashion designer as well. And through my, also if I'm doing styling, having custom looks and partnering with people, and that not only speaks to my brand, but also partnering with designers to create more custom things in collaboration with my brand. I think that's honestly, and the crazy part is, ever since the beginning, that is how Darius B. Styles really started. I have had my business be so many names, but Darius B. Styles started because of the designers that I worked with. We crafted custom looks. When I say, "Oh, I have a concept," and I was working with a designer named Ashala, and she would make these amazing things. And it was like, okay, couture just being crafted for the concept. And I will come in, and of course, I'll style it the way that I style it. I would literally, honestly, it would be more about, I think, again, my gift is taking those things and accessorizing it and saying, okay, well, these are my color palettes, and I feel like I'm a visionary where I could take something and then add to this, and whether it is custom made or whether it's already made, I think that's just something that I've been, because at the core of myself, being a stylist, I'm a designer. I started out also designing, wanting to be a fashion designer, having my own brand. So the more I uncover and rediscover and connect with those parts of myself, it's like the more I'm shaping the things that I'm doing around that. So, that's where I am with that on a creative note. Um, Doing things of that nature. I did also launch something like with doing editorial boudoir, because I did a photo shoot that had that essence of beauty, glamour, and telling stories. And or not if, really honestly, when I'm working on those sets or doing things like that, the boudoir would come from having, it's not about sharing it with anyone. It's not about, putting it out there for everyone to see. You can, if you like. Those are options to have things recorded and doing film and things of that nature. But it's more about seeing yourself as art, seeing yourself as beauty, and not for where you were in the past, where you're going, where you are right now. Because we have to love ourselves now. You know what I mean? And just those different spaces. And I had a moment that made me pause as well. I don't know if anybody remember America Next Top Model, where they did the bullfighter or the bull matador. I just had me stop. And I was like, oh my goodness. And you know how you see an image and it actually and at the moment I was like, is this an ending or is this the beginning? Because I don't know. I felt like that image really called me to ask, why am I doing this? What am I doing? What am I really doing this for? And I do it because I love it. I do love it. But I think like when you are going through, being in a city and state that's not so demographically a fashion capital, so it's like I'm going through the things of the things, but like I am choosing to make art and make something meaningful. So I'm looking forward to putting myself into those like fine art spaces, while also doing the other things that I love with design, creating custom designs within my own thing. So, and having my own collection and things of that nature. But I've been really honestly looking at space as, something that's sacred and not a punishment. And just taking that time to reflect and actually think. To see it as, alignment and also clarity. So, but yeah. And another thing I've been reflecting on within space is like my emotional capacity and as well as connections. And where am I with the people that I am around, I let in, or have around is another thing. Just reflecting on relationships and how much room do I actually have emotionally. Like, I think for me, I think right now I'm in a space where what matters most to me, and people can view this as, oh, you're using, or but I know what matters most to me is that I get to create with people that are creative friends, I think. But I value the creativity. Maybe I value the creativity a little bit more over the friendship, honestly. If I'm being real right now in my space, because I think that I just don't have enough of that. Where, you know, and when you can get around people who are thriving in their creativity, and it just inspires me to be like, you know what, yeah, like this is possible. um and it gets your wheels turning, you know. And then, I've also realized that, not all relationships need to become deep friendships, and some are meant to be creative partnerships, and it's okay. um, this is just something that I really noticed. And also, I want to let y'all know, if y'all see me looking down, it's because I've actually written out my flow. I do that because I want to make sure that I'm on topic to what I'm saying, because in my open dialogue. But I just really, I just wrote down like how I've realized that not all connections need to become deep friendships, and some are meant to be creative partnerships, and that's okay. Um, and sometimes you meet people and you feel something that could be deeper, but if you only have a certain amount of capacity for something, it's it can be kind of hard to let people down to the fact that, yeah, you enjoy hanging out with them, but your capacity is 100% more creative right now than something a person that you can give personally. And some people can take that in so many different ways. It's just what it is. um Not that nothing can't grow from that, but I think in the beginning, you know that is something that is important. And that's all I give. Sometimes I felt bad about that, but it's where I am, and I have to honor that. You know what I mean? It's something I have to honor, and it's also about understanding that emotional availability fluctuates, and what we can give right now actually matters. That's just something that is just real true to the core for me right now. Um, and I think that I feel internally grounded, you know, because I feel most grounded when I'm making something. And I definitely do value creative synergy, even more than a casual check-in. Although you could check in, but I like. I think for me, like we have something working on, we're working on something. How are you? You know, that's fine. And then that's the release. And then we get after that we get into a flow of creating something beautiful out of the release. You know what I mean? You know, and then creating with people I love or respect feeds my soul in ways that sometimes regular friendships don't. I mean, because to be quite honest, I already have a girlfriend I call and talks about everything else. I already have friends I call and talk about everything else up under the sun. It's but when we can create something together, oh, I'm about it. You know. And then with alignment versus force, you know, realizing that if something requires constant stress or pushing, it might not be aligned. And making things for space for things that flow, for people to opt in or not. And also, if a relationship serves space that's real, if not, I'm still grateful for what I gave, you know? And it's all about like if the relationship doesn't work out, maybe in this timing, maybe in this realm of time, I'm grateful for those connections. And, you know, truly I do think about, you know, if I'm burning bridges or not. But like, you know, I think when it comes to where you are, if you know where you are, it shouldn't really honestly matter because I think about those things like, do you burn? How many bridges are you going to be burning? Or like, but then I sit to myself and I be like, you know what? Light that bridge, bitch. Because if it has to be kindly and sweetly, though, kindly and sweetly, I'll just get rid of everything. But, you know, just taking that moment. So I've been really honestly right now, if as you can tell, I've just been in that balancing act right now with certain situations in my life. But yeah, but I'm grateful still to the people that I've been around. Just know that they've inspired me as we've inspired each other. And some connections have awakened me because it was like I have been fucking sleeping the entire time. Like, where have I been? And now I can like really take charge into who I've always been. You know what I mean? Like, who I've always been. And also space and creativity. Sometimes the next idea comes before the last one even finish, and that's okay. Um, I feel like my mind is always going, and I've been literally like, okay, getting into how can I fully be here and enjoy that process. Yes, do I get ideas and I write them down? Oh, girl, she's always planning something next. She's always chic to thinking. Okay. Um, Fashion creativity moves fast. And I wrote down I'm learning to pause, reflect, and I'm always playing with intention. I'm the plan, but I also learning to surrender into the bigger picture already set for me. You know. Even me saying that now is like that's a big release, you know? Not worrying about because, you get, when you're in fashion, you're like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? I literally was telling my therapist about that. And she was like, okay, the next thing we're gonna dive into that. What's next? Because it's true. Like, after you create this thing, like, okay, what's next? How we gonna what do we need to talk about? What's the next big story? What's going on? What do people need to see? What do I need to produce? Produce. And sometimes that can come out of performance. And just think, instead of being like, okay, we produce this thing, I'm gonna go get ice cream. Like, and that goes back into like self-reward. Self-reward. So I vow to myself that when I do a project and I'm fully in it and I finish it, I'm gonna reward myself with something relaxing via a massage, an ice cream, a yoga session. I've been getting into yoga. She's been kitty and stuff like that. And that's just me creating those little things, because I love going, or a spa day, really booking me a spa day, because I love facials. I love doing them for myself. So my closing is, acknowledging that this is still a work in progress and honoring that clarity that comes from silence and pause. And also, sometimes space isn't about separation, it's about alignment. And I'm learning how to honor that, you know. And, but yeah, I'm learning how to honor that. So, this is all I have for my open dialogue, and I hope something in here resonates for you guys. If it's something that you're navigating what space means to you, let me know in the comments. And also, sending alignment and clarity your way. Until next time.